All right, so we're going to start with 8.1, which is simplified expressions with roots. Okay, and we are going to do square roots first. So we could say that in English, we're doing square roots. So in English, what are the square roots of, check that. What are the, there we go. Yeah, what are the square roots of 36? What are the square roots of 36? All right, the answer is 6 and -6. And why is that? Because when we do a number squared and we get 36, that means what? That 6 squared is what? 36. And -6 so then in math, when we said a square root of 64, the answer will be, what do we have? 8, right? And this is what we're going to be using the principal root right now. The other one will be, this is positive, and the other one is going to be -64, right? And it will be -8. And let me just write down here that you're going to see that the negative sign is in the front of the radical sign. The negative sign is in the front of the radical sign. Okay, so we are going to math, in math we said plus and minus the square root of 64. So one answer is going to be square root of 64 is 8 or -8. Now let's try this one. Square root, what do we have there? We are going to, let me get a different pencil pen. Okay, so we are gonna what? Square first. And then we're gonna do the square root. All right, this is the same as the absolute value. The same as the absolute value. So then what we have is So what do I do? Square first. This is 49. Then do the square root is 7. We're only going to be taking the principal root only. Okay, now let's do some examples. So if I have let me do it on this page. First one, square root of 0. So what did we say was the square root of 0? 0, right? Now let's do the next one. 4/49. So what do? Let's do this. We could do this square root of 4 divided by what? By the square root of 49. So we know this is 2, and the square root of 49 is 47. X squared. What's the square root? X. Now, -5 squared. So what do I do first? Square the number, which is 25, and then I do the square root, which is going to be 5, the square root of 25. Okay? And the last one that I have here is square root of 0.25. So what's 0.25? 0.25 is 1/4. So square root of 1 and a square root of 4. This will be what? 1/2. So this is equal to 0.5. You guys see that? If I don't have a calculator, how do I find this? I know that 0.25 is 1/4. So the square root of 1 and the square root of 4, that's 1/2, which is 0.25. Now, let's do the cube roots. So we have this is cube root of 8, and we know it's equal to 2. Now, this number inside here is called the radicand. Okay? This is called radical or the root sign. And this number over here is called what? The index. Then for a square root, there's an imaginary 2. We don't write down the 2. Here is 2, but we don't write it down. Okay? When we have more than, let me write this down. So index, and it says for a square root, there is an imaginary 2. Okay, but we never write it there. So this is the radical or the root sign, radicand, the number inside, and this is the index. Now, let's say we have Mm-hmm. If the index is an odd number, just like this one, it is possible to have a negative radicand. You could do it because this is going to be equal to what? To -2. So you guys got to write that down. If we have if the index is odd number, it is possible to have a negative radicand. Otherwise, you can. All right. Like for this one, we know it was 2 times 2 times 2 and times 2 is 8. And in this case was -2, -2, and -2. Now let's try these exercises that I have here. Okay, so we have the first one, cubic root of 1. It's going to be 1. Now, (27x). So let's do the number first. -27. So that's going to be -3 times -3 is 9. And -9 times negative, we're going to have a -3. Now let's do the x to the 15th power. So this is going to be to the 5th power, to the 5th power, and to the 5th power, right? And we know this is 15, so what do I get here? X to the 15th power. Another way that you guys can do it too is dividing the index. 15 divided by 3, by the index. Dividing this power. Okay? That's another way to do it. Now, let's do the next one. The next one is, we have 8 divided by 25. Oh, we have cubic root. So what do we have here? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 5 is 25. Times 5, what do I get? 125. So what is my answer? 2 divided by 5. What is the cubic root of 8 over 125? 2 over 5. Number 4, it says cubic root of -1. Okay, -1 times -1 is 1 times -1 is -1. So that's going to be my answer there. We could have let's see some higher order roots. Higher order roots are where the index is greater than 3. Let's do some exercises with that. When the index is greater than 3. So that's going to be this is higher. Where the index is greater than 3. And let's do the first one. We have a square root of 5. So it's going to be 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 2, 8. 8 times 2, 16. And 16 times 2, 32. So my answer is going to be 2. I'm just writing this here to let you know where the 2 comes from, okay? Now, let's do the second one. We can have this negative here because this is an odd index, okay? An odd number. And what are we going to get? A negative 2. Now, oops. Number 3 is going to be 6th root of 64. That's going to be 2. If you multiply here 2 one more time, you get 64. So my answer is going to be 2. Now, number 4, the 6th root of negative 64. We cannot do it because real, okay? So my answer is doesn't exist. There is no answer there. Now, number 5, we have x squared plus 2x plus 1. All right, so I know that I need two numbers that when I multiply them, I get 1, and when I add them, I get 2. So my answer is going to be x plus 1. Okay? Now, 6. Remember what I said at the beginning, that you guys can do like here, 15 divided by 3. That's actually what is happening here. That's like a shortcut to take. So in this case, my answer is going to be, if I do that division, what do I have? 3x minus 2. Okay? Now we're going to look at radical functions. Okay? And what we have is we're being given f of x equal the square root of x plus 5 and g of x is equal to the cubic root of x minus 3. So they want us to find, they said find, and the first one is f of x when x is equal to 11. So it's this one. So we're gonna replace where we see the x for 11 plus 5. So what do we get? 16. And what's the square root of 16? 4. That's what they want us to do there. Now the next one. When x is equal to -1. So what do we do? -1 plus 5. What's the square root of that? Square root of 4. What's the square root of 4? 2. The next one, A, B, C. Now we're gonna work with G. G when x is equal to 11. So it's gonna be 11 minus 3 cubic root. So 11 minus 3 is what? 8. What's the cubic root of 8? 2. And the last one that I have here, A, B, C, D, is when G is equal to negatives, when x is equal to -6. That's what I have there. All right. So then this is going to be -6 minus 3. So that's going to be -9. So what happened here? That 9 is not a cubic number, right? So first we're going to write number, right? Second, we are going to leave like this, the same way that we have it there, because the answer is not an integer. Okay. So 9 is not a cube number. There's not a number that I multiply by itself. And I get that. So that's why we have to just leave it like that. We could say that that's the exact form. Okay. We are going to leave it like that for now. And